Good afternoon, everyone. So I'll introduce myself. My name is Christine, City of Greater Geelong. I'll be your Toastmaster today. Can you just ask everyone to introduce yourself, please, to the group? Can I start? Julie. Hi, Julie.
Hi, yes, Julie Green speaking. I'm a Toastmaster from Bendigo. And yeah, what else do you want to know? I'm in my she shed at the moment, which is a little cabin at the bottom of the garden.
Ah, nice. Thank you, Julie. Hi, Val. Welcome to the webinar.
Hello, everyone. I'm Val Wilkinson. My club is Tumut, which is in the Snowy Mountains, in the foothills of the Snowy Mountains in New South Wales. And I'm just not really in District 73. Our club's in District 70, but I feel as though I'm part of District 73 in northeastern Victoria.
Well, you're very much welcome to our district, Val. Thank you, Val. You're Carole. Hi, Carole. Would you mind to introduce yourself to the rest of the group?
Thank you, Toastmaster Christina. I'm delighted to introduce myself to those that I don't know. I live in the northeast of Victoria, about 2 hours from where Val is, and about 4 hours from where Liz is. And I'm in a small part of the Albury-Wodonga region in a town called Barranduda. And today it's been quite warm, so I've got the fan blowing here, and I've asked for the cricket to be turned off. So
it's quite warm down here as well, down here in Victoria. So thank you. Hi, Liz. Would you mind, our district director, Liz, would you mind to introduce yourself to the rest of the group, please?
Sure. Thanks, Christina. I'm Liz Orwood. I'm in Melbourne. I live in the city, so right in the heart of it all. I'm a member of 4 Toastmaster clubs and am pretty thrilled to have so many people on this call today. So yeah, and I've been a Toastmaster since 2006.
Thank you, Liz. Hi, Kwan. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Testing. I hope you can hear me. My name is Kwan. Thank you. My name is Kwan. I'm part of 3 clubs. Like Liz, I also stay in the city. And I'm pleased to share my experiences with Pathways with all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Kwan. Hi, Michelle. Would you like to introduce yourself, please?
Yes, hi, my name's Michelle Smith. I am currently Central Division Director, which means I look after the 27 clubs that are in South Australia. So I am living in the past over here. It's only about 1:25. So I've just spent the morning having brunch with a friend that I met from Melbourne overlooking the ocean. So it's been a really lovely start to the day so far. And I look forward to guiding you all through your times with our speeches today.
Thank you, Michelle. We have Caroline. Caroline is from City of Greater Geelong Toastmaster Club, the same club where I belong. Caroline, would you mind to introduce yourself to the rest of Toastmasters community?
Hi, my name's Carolyn. I'm with Christina in the Greater Geelong area. Been doing Toastmasters for about a year now and finished my Pathways, which has been great. And just love the community. I'm Sergeant at Arms right now and having fun with that. It's actually a fun role to do. And I love the club. I love the people. And I'm enjoying just being able to hear your stories today. So thank you.
Thank you, Carol. And Jürgen. Jürgen is also from the same club, from City of Greater Geelong Toastmasters Club. Jürgen, would you mind to introduce yourself to the rest of the community?
Hi, sure. Thanks, Christina. So hello, everyone. My name's Jürgen Strauss. As Christina mentioned, I'm part of the City of Greater Geelong Toastmasters Club. I've been a member of that club for just over 2 years now. really loving the Toastmasters experience and looking forward to sharing my thoughts on pathways today. Thanks.
Nice. Thank you, everyone. Right, we still have 3 minutes to go. Would anyone want to share their or what pathways are they on at the moment? I'll start. I'm on the leadership, dynamic leadership pathways, and I'm just about to finish level 1. A bit slow, but yes, I'm getting there.
I think you'll catch up quickly, Christina. I'm on level 5 of visionary communication, finished effective coaching, and I think level 5 of strategic relationships. But then I'm an overachiever, you know that.
Wow, 3 pathways already. Nice. Anyone else?
I've completed level 3 in team collaboration, and this Wednesday I'll be completing level 1 of motivational strategies.
Oh, cool. Thank you, Michelle. Kwan Leong, what pathways are you on?
I'm currently at level 5 for visionary communication, and I'm about 3 speeches away from finishing it.
Wow. Suddenly, I need to catch up. I'm still on level. All right, I'm feeling the pressure. Jürgen, would you share what pathways are you on at the moment?
Yeah, I'm just at level 1 as well, Christina, so don't feel bad. I'm doing the motivational strategies. I have been away for a large chunk of this year, so I haven't gotten around to doing a lot of my speeches for the pathway, and as a result, I'm still working my way through it.
That's okay. Yeah, you're doing great, Jürgen. Julie, would you?
Yeah, so I started Pathways in January of 18, and I'm currently on level 3.
All right.
It's been a bit patchy, to say the least, but I've got this far.
All right. Yes, that's okay. Caroline, thank you, Julie. Caroline, would you mind to share what pathways are you on at the moment?
Yeah, that's so funny because I'm just looking it up right now. I thought that I was on dynamic leadership and I believed 100% that was my path until I had a conversation with Christina and I was having some issues and I'm like, huh? So I'm on a different path, but I'm doing well. I can't tell you what it is because I'm different, but I have completed the first level. So I'm up to level 2. But I'm just looking it up now to see what path it is. So it's been kind of funny.
Yes, I actually know what pathways are you on. You're on presentation mastery.
There you go, presentation mastery.
Yes. You can take another pathways. You can get another pathways. Caroline, you can buy the dynamic leadership if you want. You can have 2 pathways at a time.
Yeah, we'll finish this one first.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for sharing that. So now it's 2 o'clock. Shall we officially start this webinar? What do you say?
Ooh.
Okay. Welcome, everyone, to our Toastmaster. It's my pleasure and privilege to welcome you to our final event for Pathway Stories webinar. We will be having a series of short stories of experiences in projects, levels, and paths from different Toastmaster members from different clubs within our district, District 73. We have 6 speakers today who will be sharing their experiences about pathways. After each speaker, we have 3 minutes for question and answer, for Q&A portion. Just a few housekeeping. May I request everyone that is not speaking to mute their microphone and stop the video sharing while the speaker is doing their speeches. All right, thank you. I would like to introduce our timer. Our timer for the day is Michelle Smith. Michelle, could you please explain the timing for our speakers today?
Yes, hi, my name is Michelle Smith. I'm going to be using the Toastmasters app to be keeping track of the timing. So can I be excused from having my video turned off when the coloured lights happen so that I can show you that? Is that the best way to do that?
Yes, yes, that should be fine, I think. Yes.
Cool.
Thank you, Michelle.
Thank you.
Right. Let's start with our first speaker. Our first speaker today is Liz Wood. Liz joined Toastmasters in 2006. Developed confidence in speaking in front of an audience. Then realized that there was so much more than to Toastmaster than speaking, and embarked on a leadership journey. Currently, District 73, Liz is our district director. Please welcome Liz Wood, our first speaker.
Thanks, Christina. It's lovely. Yeah, I guess my Pathways experience has been, it's culminating, and I'm now pleased to say I'm up to level 4 in dynamic leadership. And I guess my journey with Pathways, because I had the privilege of being involved in it in my PQD year and as we were implementing it. So it's been a huge learning curve for me. I'm a little bit technically challenged with computer sort of stuff, but with some perseverance and actually step by step watching the tutorials and the information involved when you log on to Pathways, and having some patience to just work through it has really helped me learn so much. I know more technically confident people have been frustrated with it, but for me, it's just having the patience to work through it. It is different than having a manual, sitting with a manual wherever you want to be, and you can just read through stuff. But the great thing that I really enjoy about Pathways, in particular the dynamic leadership one, and on level 3 project, negotiate the best outcome, what not only, I'm just looking at the book, so not only do you have a whole lot of information there, and what I like about the Pathways is that then I can do copy and paste, and I'm actually starting to do more even PowerPoint presentations, because I do shy away from that. But working through Pathways, it's given me the confidence to push myself out of that comfort zone and utilize the information that's involved in the path to just plonk it onto a PowerPoint, or just to do it as handouts. So when I finished negotiate the best outcome, I did handouts at my club and just sort of did a review of the summary of negotiate the best outcome on level 4. And then I got everyone in the club to talk through, and I actually engaged with the members on the negotiation styles of negotiating the best outcome. So I think for me, the highlight with Pathways is that it's very interactive. There's lots of information there to benefit your personal growth. If I don't know if anyone's done, where's this level? I'll just share my screen. So the other thing that I've really enjoyed about the path that I chose, my initial path of dynamic leadership, is that it so aligns with the Toastmasters leadership goals, like being on the trio. I've learnt so much. And then when I started doing this one, which is managed change, I was just, oh my goodness, this is so awesome. It's so good. It matches, it aligns so well with what you encounter when you're in a district leadership role. you can see that there's so much here. We all know about the assess your skills before, goes through the competencies and why manage change is something like managing change. Sometimes we don't like change, and it just steps you through such great ways to deal with things. What I liked was it gives you this prepare down, like I'm not going to click into it all, but just the options that it gives you to work through preparing for a change workshop, and the ideas and the thoughts, implementation of your plan. It gives you all sorts of strategies on how to get people to embrace what you're wanting them to change to. Prepare for possible resistance and change. Certainly had a lot of that when we were I was going to say told, we were told by Toastmasters International that we were going on to pathways, and we had a very, very short time frame, and there was resistance to that, and there still is in our organisation, but I think we're getting there. And when you see, what is great is to see the change that TI putting in to update and improve the pathways program. I think we're just heading for better and better education platform for us as Toastmasters. It's very quiet.
We're waiting till you finish before we ask you questions.
Yay! Okay.
Yeah. So Liz, it's Carole. I was just wondering what you would say then to someone else who was just starting on dynamic leadership, and how you might help them plan ahead.
I think just starting on any of the paths, because they're all the same at the beginning, it's just persevere with it. There is relearning that we need to do, and there is a little bit of repetitiveness. You sort of feel, I've already done an icebreaker, I've already done this in my manuals, if that's the case, for us that have been members pre-Pathways rollout. But for the new Toastmasters that have come on board and don't know anything else, what I love about the Pathways platform is that there's so much more available to go and be learning, looking at the tutorials, looking at the evaluation templates and going through those. I like that you can get some valuable language to use from those evaluation transcripts that then you can use in your evaluation, because you're always learning, and to have some ideas on the language to use right there in front of you. Yeah, just explore it. That's what I'd say.
Thank you very much, Liz. Over to you, Christina. If you want to invite people to turn on their videos again, because I'm not sure they understood that what you meant was turn off your microphones, not videos.
Yes, but you may turn on your video, guys. Does anyone have any question for Liz? All right, it's very quiet. Liz, I do have one question for you. How in your class, how do you guys manage the resistance from the old members?
Well, I'm in several clubs. My one club, there is no resistance because most people are just on Pathways and weren't involved in the old system. In one of my clubs, we've just made a conscious effort that we're just going Pathways. There were only two of us that were the more experienced, that were in the old platform, so we've just gone, you know what, we're all Pathways. I guess the other club is Port Melbourne, which we've still got a balance. I think there are still a few people working through the old, but most people are all on the new, and the same with City Centre, my other club, we're mostly all doing Pathways. And it's just about changing the talk into being positive talk and try to eliminate the naysayers.
Yeah.
Yes, Christina, can you hear me?
Yes.
Do you, you've muted my video.
Oh, who's it? Is it Julie? Oh,
yes.
There you go. What? Maybe Carolyn can help. Carole, would you mind? I'm trying to click start, but it won't let me.
Yeah, mine too. It's saying that the host has disabled it. So
I'm trying to start it again. It won't let me.
Oh yeah, here we go. Yep, there you go.
I'll try again for you, Julie. Oh, there you go.
That's all right now.
It's all right now?
Yeah. Yes.
How about Tracy?
So Liz.
All right, go on, Julie.
Okay. Look, I'm just curious, Liz. I similarly just sort of started Pathways, but unfortunately not many people have followed me. But I was also wondering, when you picked dynamic leadership, was that the one that was in the questionnaire, or did you just pick it because that's what you wanted to do?
No, that was the result of the survey, the questionnaire thing. Yeah.
Okay, that's fine.
All right. Thank you, Julie. We can have more question and answer at the end of all after all the speakers. We will move on to our next speaker. Thank you, Liz, for that. Our next speaker is Carole. All right.
Next speaker is Kwan.
Is it Kwan? Oh, sorry. Our next speaker is Kwan. Kwan is a president of Yakiti Yates Toastmaster Club and have been on Pathway since December 2017, last year. Currently at level 5 in visionary communication. Let's welcome Kwan Leong, our next speaker. Kwan.
Thank you very much, Christina and the team. I'd like to test my microphone again, whether it's working. Is it working? Can you hear me? Thank you very much. As Christina mentioned, my name is Kwan, and Carole invited me to present in this workshop after seeing my article in the newsletter. And because of that, I would like to focus my presentation on 2 projects that I've done. And I also like to show you the work that I've done on these 2 projects. The first one is the the researching and presenting project that I've did. And this may be a project that's difficult for members to do because they are not sure which subject or which idea to present in front of a crowd. And my suggestion for people is to pick a topic that they're not familiar with. Then they can the person can actually do research on that topic and give out information to the members of a Toastmasters club. And in this way, the research can be done and the speaker can benefit as a whole as well. So I would like to now screen share my presentation. I hope this works. Just give me a moment. Okay, this is what I've done for my project back in January. I decided to go for Bitcoin, and I created my slides in such a way that it guides the listeners through a structure that first I lay out the scope of my project, which is I'm going to talk about Bitcoin in general, and then I presented some key facts, highlighted the benefits, as well as the drawbacks, And finally, I wrapped it up with a summary and conclusion. And this is just one of the ways that a member can do this project. By following this structure, there are other ways of doing it as well, as this project will guide you along the way. The next project that I'd like to share with everyone is the level 4 elective that I've done over the last few months, which is writing a compelling blog. I find this project to be challenging because, first of all, I would need to decide what content that I want to include in the blog. And next, I need to find which website is the best to host my blog. And because of that, I've decided to go with WordPress. And I would like now to share my blog with you. I hope this works as well. Just give me a moment. So this is my blog. As you can see, I've not been updating it for a few months. And my blog is basically about pathways and the issues and the myths versus facts that arise from pathways as well. So I'm just browsing through some areas of my blog that have not been updated for a while. And in this project, a member can choose any subject or idea they would like to blog about, not just about pathways. It's just that I decided to go with a pathways theme for this project. And what I found extremely beneficial in this project is that this project not only teaches you about speaking, it teaches you how to write a compelling blog, and it also teaches you how to improve your writing skills. And this is what I found beneficial in this new Pathways program. I shall now stop the screen share. And that is all that I have. My 2 experiences about Pathways regarding the researching and presenting, and also writing a compelling blog project. And I hope that you may have, and I hope that you have any questions. I'll try my best to answer it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Kwan. Thank you for that, Kwan. That's really interesting. That blog. Does anyone have any question for Kwan?
I have a question for you, Kwan. This is one of my favorites in the projects, the compelling blog. And I am a blogger of some years' experience. So I wondered, when you chose your blog and you chose WordPress and the content, what advice would you give to someone else who is new to blogging to get them started?
Yes, the key piece of advice that I would give someone that wants to start this project is to gauge their level of skills in technology, because for most of the blogs out there, you may need to use some programming language or coding. So if that's not your cup of tea, and I know that it's not the cup of tea for most people, then I would suggest WordPress, because WordPress gives you a very interactive platform to write your blog, and the user interface is actually quite easy to use. It's just a matter of writing your posts on the website and then posting it online, and a lot of people find this very easy to do, and that's the reason if you are a new user, I recommend WordPress, because the interface is easy to use.
Thank you, Kwan.
Thank you.
I have to say, let me just turn my video back on. I have to say, Kwan, that as a web developer, I did not find WordPress very easy to use. It develops a lot of code in the back end that is very confusing. So I think the WYSIWYG factor of it is good, but the code factor is not ideal when you are a web developer.
Mm. Can I ask a question?
Yes, Julie.
Oh, yes, Kwan, thank you very much for that. Look, I don't really understand blogs very well. So how do you continue the dialogue? How do people that know you know that you're doing stuff on the blog?
So what you're trying to say is, you're trying to ask is, how do you get traffic to your blog? Is that right? That means, how do you get more people to view your blog? You can do this in a variety of ways. You can actually promote it through social media, or you can actually promote it through another website. And actually, there's a lot of ways that you can do it.
Okay. So like Facebook or LinkedIn or? Yes,
and like, for example, for Carole's blog, she frequently promotes it on Facebook as well. And also, one of the blogs that I really frequently visit about pathways is a blog by Julie Curtix from the United Kingdom. She regularly promotes a blog on the Pathways discussion forum as well.
Is there anyone else have question for Kwan? No? All right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Our next speaker is Carole. Our next storyteller will be Carole. Carole is Coach Carole, I must say. Is a 2 clubs in District 73, Wangaratta and Indigo Speakers, and 2 online clubs. She is a Vice President of Education, Secretary, Vice President of Public Relations, and a BCM. A short story of Revelations as a base camp manager. Let us welcome Coach Carole. Coach Carole, story number 3.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Christina. I'm so glad that we are working to time because Joy has just joined us. Welcome, Joy. And part of this story involves Joy, a little bit.
Oh dear. Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, Joy.
I wanted to say, first of all, how much I've enjoyed listening to other stories so far. And one of the things that was mentioned by Liz earlier on was how to overcome some of the difficulties for those who are resisting, but how much easier it is for those who are brand new to Toastmasters. They don't have a choice. They just go straight in and they leap in. And I wanted to give you my first little part of the story, which is about the very first Toastmaster Club of Madagascar. Now, they've been chartered now this year, and they're a very large club of over 40, mostly 30 plus age group, and they are going great guns with pathways. Several of them have already finished level 1s. And I'm mentoring them using webinars to help them along. None of their questions are about pathways. They're all about how do we motivate people to do roles in a meeting. So they're just embracing pathways. One of the things that I wanted to share with you today are some of the ways in which we can break down walls, and I have some slides for you to share. So these I've revamped a couple of times now. I'm hoping that you can see the slides all right.
Oh, there you go. Coming up now.
Excellent. So this is a couple of ways how I can tame my technology, and they might work for you. One of the things that we are now finding is that the job of the base camp managers are beginning to ramp up. And that's happening because more people are completing levels. Up until now, that hasn't been a problem. And if you just consider it, we've been rolled out in District 73 now for just over a year. Here's one of the things that I wanted to point out for you as an easy way to track completions in base camp. This is for yourself, not just as a base camp manager. So for instance, did you know that when you go into your transcript, if you click on the title of your path, it will show you all of the projects. Now this is a real bonus. So this one I'm showing you today is mine, and I've clicked into that activated training option so that it deletes all the others that I are not doing this time round. And over here, it tells me where I'm at. So the number of projects that I've completed and those that are still left to do. Now, I find this a really good way of tracking myself, and I often give this information to others where I'm a base camp manager or a mentor for them. From this page, I can't do it here because it's just a flat PowerPoint slide, but you can actually launch the project that you want to get into from here. So it's another way to get in. Can I see a show of hands if you've actually done this in your transcript before? Just a regular show of hands. A few have, and a few yet to try that out. So a call to action for you is have a go at that. And if necessary, print a screen image of that to share with others. Then the next thing that was a bit of a brick wall for me was those that have enrolled in a path in print format. Now, in one of my clubs or in our region, we've got 2 clubs in which Joy and I share a member, if that's the correct way of saying it. So Elizabeth is doing hers in print format. So Joy and I really do need to be in contact to share how we help her for her completions. And one of the first things that I found was how useful it is to go into the videos in Basecamp and listen to what you have to do. I thought I knew everything. And it wasn't until I went back in and listened again, I thought, penny dropped. I cannot see where Elizabeth is because she's not yet, well, she hasn't been in my Indigo Valley speakers. She was still listed in Albury-Wodonga. So once I knew that, I could go in and I could look at her transcript and I could see this. Because as a VPE for someone doing print format, you need to check off their projects for them. So you go into the view checklist and then you can click it off. And this is what will show for them the next time they come in, that their level is completed, as long as you have done this little task, which is quite small on the screen, as you can see here. And of course, that relies on them having completed all components of the assignment of the project. And we know this because Elizabeth is delivering speeches in our clubs. So she's now 25% through level 1 and 5% through presentation mastery. Now, the next little one. I love this little image. I don't know who used it, but I grabbed it off Facebook because, yes, there are obstacles. And one of those that I want to point out today and give you a solution to is that funny little thing that happens for some people. And that is this one. How many of you have read right through a project online, gone to the page that says, assess your skills after, ticked it all off, yay, I've done. Yeah, I've done that myself. And then realised, oh, wait, I've got to do a speech. Whoa. So early completion of assess your skills after is not a big drama. You can actually just keep calm, deliver the speech, and then come back later and then move on. No one else knows that. It's just you and your VPE. In EasySpeak, we have another little way of tracking everybody. So if you're an EasySpeak user, this will make sense to you. I'm not going to deliberate too long on this because I'm nearly out of time. However, this is the best way for you to keep track of when you did your speeches and for which club. And if you want a copy of my speech schedule planner in Word to share with people, I'm very happy to share that with you as well. I'm now out of time, so I'm going to open up to questions.
you, Carol. In our club, we also discovered a few of our members already managed to click all through the end of the pop-up windows and finish the entire level. And then I have to actually explain it to them. You actually have to do the speech before it's considered approved. Anyway, but yeah, thank you very much, Coach Carole. Does anyone have any question for Carole?
Yes, Carole, Julie here.
Yes, Julie.
Look, I was a bit distracted when you went through the transcript because I was talking to Christina about my introduction. So what you showed, I sort of got it in the background. So what you showed, was that something that's in the transcript?
Yes, it's actually one of the pages in the, it's called the online lesson. So when you go from your transcript into your actual project, that opens up your online class. And these are the pages that you see as you work through it. And when you get to the end, it says assess your skills after.
Yes, I get that. Yes, but the thing that you showed us, which looked like a work breakdown schedule in my other life, that thing.
Oh, okay. Yes, when you go to your transcript, instead of clicking on curriculum, click on the title of your project, or your path, I should say.
Right.
And that will show you all of these projects. So that helps you plan ahead so you know what's coming.
Yes, okay. Well, I'll have to go and have a fiddle because I think that's what I'm doing wrong.
Excellent. Well, that's my call to action for everybody. If you haven't yet tried that out, go and have a look.
Okay.
Back to you, Christina.
Thank you. Thank you for that, Julie. Anyone else have questions for Carole?
Hi, Carole. Kwan here. I have a question because I've noticed that some members, one of their concerns about pathways is that you can't see ahead of what you're going to do in level 2, level 3, and so on when you're at level 1. So what is your advice about giving these new members when they want to see ahead, to plan ahead?
Excellent question. It follows on from Julie's question. I would advise doing the exact same thing. When they're in their transcript, click on the title of the path on the left-hand side, and they can see the whole list. So that's what I was showing in my slides before.
Yep.
If they want detail, which that doesn't give them, you can get a little more detail by going over to the District 73 website, where all of those paths and projects are shown in alphabetical order. Liz, I'm not sure if the website is up and running again today. No, so at the moment there's a few technical problems, but when it's back up, just tell your people to go over to the District 73 website, choose pathways, and have a look there, because it gives them a little more detail on each of the paths and the projects.
Thank you very much.
Yes, Joy, would you like to say anything?
Carole, can I just add to that, that by going into the Pathways discussion group, I think is on District 73 Facebook page, I discovered a lot of those documents are held under the Files tab. So for Kwan or others, if you can't get into the District 73 website, is pop over to Facebook, find their page, go to the files on the menu on the left-hand side. They're not alphabetically listed, but you will find the list of the projects, and all those documents have actually been uploaded in there as an alternative source of information.
Thanks, Joy. Back
you.
to you, Christina.
Yeah, thank you. Maybe, can I just show you guys a quick one, my screen. I would like to share my screen. Can everyone see my screen?
Yep.
Yes.
All right, this is the one that Carole is saying. So in your Basecamp homepage, education transcript, when you log into Basecamp, when you, instead of clicking open curriculum, click this link. When you click the link, it will give you this one, all of this. So this is what Carole was showing us before. Just a quick tip.
Yeah, that's good.
Thank you, Christina. That makes much more sense for everybody now instead of just seeing the screen image. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Thank you, Coach Carole. Now our next speaker is Joy Sloan. Joy is a member of AWT for nearly 16 years. Oh, almost age as my daughter.
That makes me old.
She has have held most positions except treasurer. Currently, a vice president of education for AWT. Her biggest challenge is convincing older members to take up pathways. Our next speaker is Joy Sloan. Joy Sloan, it's on you.
Welcome, Toastmasters. Thank you very much. And hopefully I'm on target today with this storytelling. And yes, as I said, I've been actually I've held VP Ed role. This is my second consecutive term, but I've held it in the past as well. So our biggest challenge in the take up of pathways has been not so much older as in age, but I should have said longer term members in getting them to adapt to new ways. When myself, I still need to make that adaptation as well. So the challenge has been, it's been quite interesting, and fortunately for me, I have Carole just down the road to help whenever's needed. And her blogs, which I don't access a lot, but her tuition, her in Champion Pathways has been really, really helpful. But I still face, and I don't know how other members have found this, is convincing our older members to make the jump from something that they know through the old communication pathways to move over into the new pathways. We're still working on that, and my way of doing that has been actually, it's increasing the workload from my perspective, but it's been sitting down with each person individually and running through the steps with them. So sitting with them to actually do their self-assessment, log into a pathway or choose a pathway, and then work through the first steps of the icebreaker and get them to do their speech. We've had a lot of uptake now out of our 15 members of, let's say 10 of the old members. I think we now have 4, including myself, who've taken up. Getting them to do their icebreaker, though, is the next challenge. What I found is I find pathways, the recording system, clunky. It's not intuitive to me. But then I don't think like a lot of other people either, so it's probably my fault. But things like, so when we get to a problem in pathways, I find it really hard to resolve because I don't know where to go. And I'm now facing an issue with myself even though I've completed the second speech in my level 1, and the system says that I've completed that speech, it's not actually, one part of the system says I've completed it, but it's not showing it in the record of my transcript. It still says it's ongoing. So my problem is I'm not in there all the time. I forget stuff pretty readily, but how do I, in terms of my story with Pathways, because I think Pathways in itself is a really good product in where it's going, it's more about the recording system and finding my way through the system in advance of everybody else so that I can assist them with their problems. And so at this point of time, where Carole gave us the example of Elizabeth, who is a dual member, who's of 2 clubs and who's doing the print versions. I'd actually spoken to Libby a couple of weeks ago, and she was quite frustrated about doing her recording, and I'd had a quick look and they were away and went, I don't know how to resolve her issue of recording this stuff because I couldn't make it happen, but it was tied up, as Carole said, with the dual membership. So even though she's a member of AWT, it was somehow in her connections of where she'd done the speeches or delivered her 2 speeches and the recording of her completed things that was throwing me out. But it's not clear where to go and how to resolve those things. So I think there has been an amazing amount of work done on what is pathways. Here's the pathways. There is some really good work done on using the system, but often the solutions to the problems are much harder to find, and you have to go and find a Carole or find somebody else who is really au fait with the system to address some of those crazy little issues that may be, in some instances, as a consequence of the search engine tool that you're using. So, for example, the pop-up blocker, which is not, I mean, it's in the training stuff, make sure they're turned off or disallowed or whatever it is. It's not very clear, but the way Google Chrome deals with that is not the way Google deals with it or the way Firefox deals with it. So if you're not familiar with those systems, the instructions given, if you're not computer savvy, it makes it a lot harder to deal with those things. They are the negatives, and for me, and I say it that way, so for me, it's about taking note, listening to a lot of these things and trying to work my way through those. But overall, it's such a, I think really, Pathways in its essence is a really good product. Having it now linked into Easy Speak and getting people to understand the linkages between the use of Easy Speak and the use of Toastmasters International pages in the whole delivery is also something that I took for granted that people understood, but they don't understand. But marrying the two together now and making it easier to request speeches and understanding that request speech through Easy Speak, but your progress in working through Pathways is done through Toastmasters International is another challenge that kind of needs to be built into some of the available literature that's around. But overall, for me, the thing that I've discovered I've enjoyed the most, other than the frustrations of solving the, working my way through the issues and trying to be one step ahead of people, is I've actually really enjoyed working one-on-one and the mentoring and convincing of people to move across to Pathways and see how it builds on the old communication system and gives them something more along the lines of tying in with their personal life or their professional life, so they can actually see where they're gaining benefit. So overall, it's been an interesting journey. The workload is certainly, I can see how the workload will increase over time as more members progress through. And I think that's going to be a really interesting challenge for every club in the future as more people work across that person who takes on the VP Ed role really needs to understand that their time commitment in the future will be greater than, or potentially greater than what it is now. But I thank you to everybody across the Toastmasters world who's contributed to the development of the product, the online tuitions, every bit of information that comes out has certainly helped me greatly. So thank you, everybody.
Thank you, Joy. I do feel your frustration. I do talk to a few members, Toastmaster members, with the same frustration as you've encountered. It certainly has some challenges, but over time, I can assure you it gets easier when members get familiarized with Pathways.
That's correct, and that's what I found. The more I play in it, the more familiar I come. But some of it's the problem-solving stuff that I have to be in front of, because somebody's problems won't be my problems.
Yes.
And so to be able to help them to move those, I need a deeper understanding, and that will come about as more people come on board and highlight those problems.
That's true. That's true. Yeah. You're doing a great job supporting your members. Well done. Does anyone have any question for Joy? Val?
That should be right now.
Yeah.
I would like to also second what you're saying. I'm BPE and base camp manager for our club, and I am almost to the point of resenting the time that it's taking me to keep track of everybody's path and levels and to ensure that they have actually completed all the projects and evaluations and bits and pieces and paperwork that are required for the different projects. And I found, from my point of view, I'm doing presentation mastery, So I don't have access to what the other people doing other paths are doing. So I'm not always sure exactly what they have to complete. Some of them it's just a 2-minute speech and then they do a project. Some of it's paperwork and they are supposed to present to the VPE the paperwork that they have supposedly completed while doing their project. But it's not always clear that you need to view that as a VPE. And I've found that base camp managers aren't given any extra information, really. I've looked at their base camp manual or whatever it is, and it's fiddle. It's nothing serious. It's just lightweight. Oh, you're a base camp manager. Fancy that. Go and learn it yourself.
Yes, actually, Val, in just a quick tip, I found that you can ask the member to download the project description. That will list exact speeches or requirements to complete the project. That's
true, but you also have to have your older members who aren't computer savvy to understand how they can actually download their project. And so I did a 20-minute interactive webinar, or not a webinar, just a not PowerPoint. It was on the web. It was an educational, I suppose you'd call it, showing people how they can download that plus all the resources. And that's been positive.
Yeah.
Had a few more people understanding what they need to do. But I do find that there's a lot of work being a base camp manager.
Joy, do you have something to say?
I was just going to say, along with Val, what I've actually found useful is I've created pilfering Carole's slides and everybody else's slides. And so now I've actually developed a PowerPoint that I use as a handout to give to individual members to help them through their process, to try and say, go through this. If you've got a problem, come and speak to me. It works for some. It doesn't always work for everybody, but it's a tool that I've found helpful.
Yep.
Yes, Val?
Sorry, Joy, and everyone else. I also have found the best take-up has been to meet with members individually at the local library where there's free Wi-Fi. They can bring their computer or laptop or iPad or whatever they use. They bring their own and we can go through it, because I've found that every one of the systems seems to show differently. It works differently. So while you can show them on your computer, it's not necessarily what they're going to see on their computer. So I found that helpful, but it's time consuming.
It is. I totally agree with you, Val. We do the same in our club. We have a one-on-one session. I call them a pre-meeting text session for our members to help them with their pathways, with their technology. Does anyone have any question for Joy?
No, but I say thank you to her, and I'm looking forward to hearing Julie and Jurgen before we have to call it off.
Yes. Thank you. So our next speaker is Julie Green, Bendigo Toastmaster since September 2013, VPE 2015 and 16, President 2016 and 17, Area Director for N30 2017 and 18, and then Secretary from 2018 and 19. Please welcome Julie Green.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Christina. Look, I am doing at the moment strategic relationships, and that was assessed by the questionnaire and actually fitted quite well with what I was doing in my career. So I'm a company director by profession now, so that's all I do. So strategic relationships fitted quite nicely. It hasn't been an easy ride. I'm at level 3 now, which isn't that good considering I started in January of last year. And I think the reason for that has partly been the fact that I've been busy, of course. but also because of the technical difficulties that I've had from time to time. And I completely relate to what Joy was saying, because it's been a struggle to the point where I've sort of given up, and then I've come back to it and then looked at it and then phoned Coach Carole because I was desperate and thought, I've got to get through this. So anyway, I've had 2 instances in just getting to level 3 where I've nearly sort of thrown it out the window, but that's partly me being busy and lacking the patience. But look, having said that, I am actually very computer literate, so I don't think it is me particularly. I think that there is a need for more intuitive problem solving as you go along the journey. So that would be a recommendation. In terms of what I've covered, I must admit, I don't think I've learned an awful lot. I mean, I've had mentoring, which I guess I mentor as a professional thing with people. So that's just, you know, been sort of much of the same. But there was one on cultural diversity, which I thought was very good. And on level 3, there is another one, which is Inspire Your Audience, which I actually am quite looking forward to, because one of the things I'm doing in my professional career is setting up an entity called Sustainable Australia. And what I'm going to do is use this speech in order to inspire the Bendigo Toastmasters. So that actually will help me a lot, I think. Now, the other little tricky thing I think all of us have said is, what do you do with club members that are older or maybe not that computer literate? And that is a real problem. I mean, for myself, I believe that I'm the only Toastmaster at Bendigo who is an older Toastmaster, meaning I've been there a few years, that is doing pathways. And all the other ones that are new are obviously doing pathways. But that's a real issue, because I started, as I said, only really a year ago. So on the exec, and I am on the exec as secretary, but I've taken a step back because of other commitments. It means that the others, say the president, the VPE, everyone else doesn't really know what I'm talking about. So therefore it's a bit of an issue. So I really fail to see how you can help club members if you're not doing it yourself. So, you know, so if you're on the exec, I mean, maybe we should have the new ones go on the exec who are doing the pathways. That actually might actually accelerate some of the issues that we're having, because the young ones will get the technology quicker. They don't know anything else, so they're not going to have the past experience getting in the way. And I don't know, some of the older ones, I don't think they're ever going to change, to be honest. It's very hard to teach an old dog new tricks, so to speak. So, look, in summary, I would strongly recommend Pathways, because I think it's the learning of the future. I found the technical difficulties quite difficult to overcome, to the extent of being frustrated. So that's not good. So that needs to be addressed. And I think we need more Caroles in the world, for sure. And somehow some way of getting the executive team engaged in the importance of actually adopting the new technology and the new learning capabilities, because they cannot really talk to new members unless they've experienced it themselves. So I'll pause there. I don't know what my time is, but I'll pause there for questions.
Thank you, Julie. Does anyone have any question for Julie?
I have a suggestion that you might like to try for some of those who are having a few difficulties. The latest page that I've listed in the chat pod for you is the navigator, which is now accessible rather than having to go into Basecamp and read it there online. It's now accessible there, and that steps newcomers through the whole process quite well. for your other roadblocks of other members, my suggestion is that you create some sort of incentives within your club that are both valid and reasonable for those members to aspire to. And it could be, that you're offering, or ask the VPE if they can offer to assist someone in that and make it a bit of a campaign, and they can tick it off on a CL. So you can then have double dipping in CL and pathways.
Okay, yeah, well, that's an idea. So Carole, could just to the reference that you made, is that the one in Facebook, the discussion forum?
The one that I've just listed is on the Toastmasters site itself. It's the navigator. Can you see that in the chat pod? You open up the chat by going to that chat icon in the bottom of the Zoom tray.
Yeah, I've got it now, yeah.
And I've been pasting in all of the sites that I recommend you go to as well. And one of those is the Pathways Forum. And another one, which is reasonably new, is the Region 12 Basecamp Managers Facebook group. Right. So if anyone wants to keep a copy of all of that, if you open up your chat, click on the More button at the lower right-hand side and save the chat, you'll get it all on your computer. Back to you, Christina.
Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Carole. Now, storyteller, Jürgen Strauss is from City of Greater Geelong Toastmasters Club. He just recently competed in the area competition for Area 31. Let us welcome Jürgen Strauss. Jürgen?
Thanks, Christina, and thank you, everyone. Been some interesting insights shared today, and I really appreciate learning some more about the benefits people are seeing and also the challenges that they're finding with doing pathways. I'm coming at this from a slightly different perspective as someone that's kind of grown up with computers from the 1980s when PCs first came about. I'm not intimidated by the technology at all. I'm also in the online learning space, regularly developing programs as well. So to me, the use of an online learning system to structure a pathway, if you like, for Toastmasters seems like a logical progression. I do appreciate, of course, that a lot of people feel intimidated by the technology. I found initially, so going back to my early days in Toastmasters, and I had the books, the physical books, and people would complete my evaluations on a speech. Half the time I would forget the book when I turned up at Toastmasters. So I had bits of paper everywhere and I tried to collect them and keep them together. But inevitably, of course, things got lost and it was all out of order. So I completely lost track of where I was in the old system. Fortunately, I hadn't gone very far down the track. So when Pathways came along, I said, okay, scrap what I've done, redo, start from scratch. It doesn't really matter. Whatever I do, if there's some repeat there, it's only going to help me learn. I went through the evaluation or the wizard, whatever you call it, for selecting my pathway, and it came out with the motivational strategy, which was the one when I looked at the descriptions of all of them, one that I would have chosen myself anyway. So the wizard actually worked to give me the same result that I was wanting to do. When I started then doing pathways, I find it keeps me on track. It lets me have a look at any time, plan and schedule my speeches for the future. So I can go in there and actually say, okay, I'd like to do a speech next month. And it gives you the option of putting in first, second and third preference. So I don't have to go to a meeting and find the VPE and ask them and they write it down, which was kind of the way it worked beforehand. Or you'd ring somebody up and often it'd get forgotten and 6 months down the track you'd realise that you weren't actually on the list anywhere to deliver a speech. That's all now taken care of within Pathways and within EasySpeak. So planning and scheduling, getting resources. So there's heaps of resources there that I've already found. Some of the resources that have been shared today are great because I wasn't aware of some of those. So there's tons more resources there that even I knew about, having gone in there and being able to say to you now that there are a lot of resources that I've found. And also it lets me track my feedback. So one of the big things in Pathways that I don't think was quite evident before in what I was observing was that when you get feedback from a speech that you're given, you're actually encouraged then at the next speech to work on those things, work on those improvement opportunities that people have, that the evaluator for the last speech identified for you. And so having record of that and being able to bring that to the speech for that evaluator is really valuable, I think. So looking at Pathways and Easy Speak, and then what Christina mentioned briefly before, she does a lot of work with training the members on the use of Pathways and the use of Easy Speak. I think that helps to overcome those barriers to the technology and helps people actually get on board with that. So when I set about doing a speech, I go on to Easy Speak, I select my date so I can put in my topic if I've already made that decision. So scheduling speeches. The other thing that's really good is I can select a role. So if I haven't done a role for a little while and I feel it's time I did another role, or I want more experience in evaluations, for example, then I can go in and put myself down for that role and generally will get assigned that as well. So there's a lot of organisational things that I think are really good throughout that actually make it quite easy. So Joy mentioned earlier that it is actually quite clunky to navigate and so on, and I certainly agree with that. I find it a little bit awkward in the way the navigation is. It does take a little bit of getting used to, and from time to time I do get frustrated because I think that doesn't make any sense at all. So I think that's just a quirk of the system or the way the system's built. It's something that is worth getting used to. I would certainly encourage people to use it. I think the workbook matrix or whatever it's called that Carole shared with us before is a great resource to get an overview of whereabouts you're at and quickly access the next steps, the next modules that you need to complete or the missing bits and pieces. And one of the big challenges, I think, for the members that have been there for a long time, it may not just be the technology, because if somebody's progressed a long way down a particular training program, to jump across to Pathways, there's a sense there that they may be losing what they've done there, and that it's kind of like abandon one and start new with something else. So I think that's worth bearing in mind as well. But overall, I've had a really positive experience with Pathways and with Easy Speak, and so I'm a fan of it.
Oh, thank you again. I'm glad that you're a fan of it. Yeah, Eugen is one of stellar members in our club. Thank you. Does have anyone for Eugen? No.
I think a big thank you, Jürgen, to finish on such a note.
Sorry, I missed that, Carole.
Thank you very much.
Sorry, Julie, I was cutting across you there. I just wanted to say thank you to Jürgen to finish on such a positive note.
Yes. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for all our speakers.
Did Julie have a question?
Yes. Yes. So I had a question for Jürgen. Hi. Look, I was just curious. You spoke a lot about, how you've found it with Easy Speak and Pathways, but what about the executive of your club? How embedded is it in your club, in your opinion?
Christina's probably a better place to answer that than me. I'd say probably 50-50 from what I can gather. Certainly in terms of the people getting up to speak, I'd say half, maybe more than half, are doing Pathways.
Okay, thank you.
In our club, we have only 4 members still on the legacy system, and everyone is mostly in Pathway. Yeah, and we're trying to get everyone up to speed with Pathways. So yeah, does anyone have any question in general?
No, but I wanted to have a few minutes to talk about progress overall District 73, if that was all right with everybody.
Yeah.
Thank you, Toastmaster Christina. And may I say what an awesome job you've done today. Really grateful for you taking on that role. As with Michelle as our timer, if you can just give me a 4 to 5 minutes, Michelle, that will do to see us out today. And we haven't heard from Tracy. I know that she's keeping her video off to save bandwidth. So we do want Tracy to have an opportunity to speak up. So I'm going to just give you the facts. And yes, I have another little slide to share with you. So bear with me as I return to my slides and pick up on the last one. So now we're 1 year on. Remember, it was December 5, 2017, the District 73 was rolled out, or at least Pathways was rolled out to District 73. And now when we look on our dashboard, we can see the number of education awards for Pathways coming through. And look whose name is at the top. It's no other than Kwan. And just beneath him, holding him up, is me.
Oh, wow. Congratulations, guys.
I'm on that screen too.
You are on that screen, absolutely. And Michelle, I have to say that I'm so impressed with Central Adelaide. They are by far the club with the most completions of levels in the whole district.
Thank you, Carole. I'm proud of them too.
Now, if you want to find any reports on Pathways, you simply go to dashboards.toastmasters.org and you ask for District 73 daily reports, and then you can filter on any of these columns. And the way I found out about Central Adelaide was I filtered on that middle column there, which is the name of the club. I know from doing another little research that District 73 at this very point in time have 184 Pathways level completions across the board. So that is an increase of another 14 even since 2 weeks ago when our Quality Program Director Sue Penerick reported to the District Council meeting. At that point we had 170. So I think we'll see some progression there quite smartly along the way. Now, I know you love a bit of competition, so look at this. District 70, yay, Val is actually in District 70. They've got 214 level completions. Now, come on, District 73, we have got to catch up. And look at District 69, they've got 300 level completions. I haven't got the figures for the others, I didn't have time. But all of this can be gathered from a tool that George Marshall put together. And you simply ask for the current number of Pathways completions for your district. It's an interesting place to go to. And maybe competition is something that your clubs aspire to. It certainly is for some of mine. I can tell you that Indigo Speakers that chartered at the same time as Pathways rolled out, they've already got 6 level 1 completions. So they're doing pretty well. All right, I'm going to stop sharing at that point. So that was just the facts. And I wanted to also let you know that, you know, some new things are going to be happening, just not in the next 10 minutes, probably not in the next 10 days. I think it's going to take a couple of weeks. But by all reports that are coming back, if you've read your leader letter, etc. from TI, the changes are in the wings, that things will be tidied up in base camp. They've listened to us and things will be improved. So those are the way in which we can see what has happened. Now we have to consider, well, how do we keep going? How do we motivate and make better data happening? So it's all down to the clubs, really, isn't it? So competition works. So I can say to Joy, all right, Indigo Speakers has got 6. How many have you got? And, you know, Joy will just go, yeah, what? Or it could be that across your areas. So Julie is area North 30 and Andrea Palmer is North 29. Maybe there's a little bit of contest there. Who knows? Just get something happening because we're in it for the ride. We're in it for the long ride. So it's doable. One of the things that we want to do as a team of District 73 Team Pathways is to help others in the district. So we need to know from each of you and all of the clubs what will work for you. So we're going to be having a discussion about that very soon on how we can bring the best of help for you. So don't hesitate, just let us know, send us an email or a text message or a messenger, anything at all. You can post it in Facebook, I don't mind. We have on our team Christina Barbonio, Michelle K. Smith, Tracy Green, and several others who are not here currently with us today. And we want to do the best we possibly can for you. We're into a bit of competition. Well, the team doesn't know it yet, but I'm actually into succession planning. So be ready, team. I want to say thank you to Christina for being Toastmaster of the Day. A sterling job. Anytime you want to come on board to an online club meeting and be the Toastmaster of the Day, you'd be very welcome.
My pleasure. Thank you, Carole.
And thank you again to Michelle. And I'll finish right on 6 minutes.
Thank you, everyone. Does anyone have any feedback before we close the meeting? No? Well, that's it for us today. Thank you, everyone, for attending this webinar. As Carole mentioned, if you guys need help in pathways or we have a Facebook page, you can send us a message or anything, and we're here to help. Thank you, everyone.